Hello and welcome back to Roads Yet Traveled. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after Tucker basically went for a walk and he encountered some weird things. He started blacking out. He basically found himself in the bowels of the ship, close to apparently where Professor Senno is. And along the way, he ended up meeting a new friend, or at the very least, he ended up meeting again with someone that he has been seeing in his dreams, which is, the mascot, who promptly tore himself apart. Um, which we don't really know what's going on with that thing yet, but, we'll see. Anyway, so I guess without further ado, let's continue Road to Travel and see what's going on and see what's, what Professor Senno is gonna do for us, for Tucker. For someone who probably has the most tenure out of anyone in the station, bearing maybe the captain, this office kinda sucks. I mean, it's smaller than Rowan's, and he's basically working out of a glorified broom closet. Although that might have been his own doing with how little he cleans. Seeing an open chair, I slump down and try to catch my breath. Tyr brings me a small disposable cup with some water and takes a seat behind his desk. The bleeding has slowed and I manage to get some of the water down, but the taste of blood makes me feel like I'm going to retch again. I crumble the cup and watch as Tyr cleans some room off of his desk. He notices me staring and speaks up. You might want to busy yourself while I get this set up. Perhaps you could message Director Tyrion and see if they're woken up? I shake my head no. Oh, I'm sure that they won't mind. It's their job after all. I raise my empty hands, barely managing to keep them from shaking. I don't even know where the damn thing is. Even then, I don't think that I can talk to them right now. You do not have it on you. You should really be more care. I glare, cuts him off. He knows he's overstepped. Right. My apologies. I am in no place to judge you. Still, it's a fascinating piece of technology. I hope that you keep it safe. And, oh, did you manage to get those other functions that you wanted working? I had to jury-rig some of the cords to get enough power into it without frying the thing. 2 more stray shots, and this time he didn't even mean it. My vision goes red, but I grip the chair and shrug it off. What he did for me was a blessing, even if it has caused me a bit of stress. I don't think that the static was his fault either, whatever it was. Well, you'll have to give me a few more moments then. I've been working on something for you in my free time, but I wasn't planning on finishing it up just yet. I don't think that it will take long though. Something for me? Intrigued, I watch as he reaches behind his desk and starts placing tools down before revealing a monitor of some kind that he must have been working on. He starts unscrewing parts of it as I sit in silence. The delicate dance of articulated tools holds my attention for a bit, but I soon take the moment to get up and look around the room. Despite the size, it seems like he manages it quite well. Although I think his plant might have died. And there aren't even any windows. I know most of the rooms here don't have any, but at least Rowan has a view of the maintenance hub. The least that they could do for Tyr would be a little porthole, right? Nah, he's too pragmatic. I bet he doesn't care. Walking to the back of the room, adjacent to his desk, I see a few photos propped up in cheap-looking frames. I haven't seen a lot of photos since I've been here. Not a lot of art at all, actually. Taking a closer look, they seem to be mostly group photos of teams that Tyr must have worked on. I can't tell the order, but I can see at least a few common faces across the spread. Oh hey, there's Merowyn. Man, he looks the same. I wonder when this photo was taken. Trying to find some pattern in the outfits proves fruitless, as there are very few photos without half the crew just wearing all gray uniforms. In fact, it seems like there's only one where no one is wearing that oh-so-charming sock-nosed gray. It's the largest one too, but with no discernible date, it's hard to tell anything about it. Merowyn's not in it, so maybe it was at least 20 No, 30 years ago? Unless he's just off to the side. Tyr does look happier in this photo, though. Finding myself being too nosy for my own good, I step back and retake my seat at his desk. Despite very clearly coming from the direction of the photos, he doesn't comment on them at all. A few more minutes pass in an abject silence before Tyr announces, "Well, this is going to have to work for now. Are you still with me, Tucker?" I cautiously nod and he unlatches his bracelet and puts it inside of his new creation, seemingly connecting them in the process. What the hell is he doing? Now, this should work. In theory. It's been some time since I've had to put anything like this together. Now, if you do not mind, could you say something, please? Hello? The box on his desk screams out in a horrid, scratchy voice, only vaguely imitating what I said. I recoil and even Tyr seems surprised by its awful delivery. No. None of that. He turns some knobs on the top of the box before beckoning again. Raising my hands to my head, I ready myself to cover my ears before speaking out a feint. Hello?
Greetings.
The box replies in an almost banal tone. Its voice strangely human for something so haphazardly comprised. Tyr lets out a sigh of relief as he leans back in his chair. Oh, finally. Hello, Tucker. I feel that is more than in order. Again. I'm sorry that it took so long to get sorted out. With such rigid tech as it is, it often takes some time. What does that
Query confusion.
What the fuck? Is this how I always sound to the Karain? No, there's no way my conversation has been as fluent as they are if all they're hearing is a shitty compressed version of my thoughts. I think Tyr understands too, as he reads my confusion and explains. I thought this might happen. So, unfortunately without your monitor or a neural between us, this might be a bit, stilted. Just one of the unfortunate constraints of this real-time translation protocol. You shouldn't have to worry about it though. Most of the time, your Guardian's neurals are doing most of the heavy lifting. And messages sent from your monitor to another monitor should be fine. But with only one piece of the puzzle, it's going to have a hard time keeping up. I hope that this should be sufficient. I'll do my best to interpret what you're saying, of course. If I make a mistake, please let me know. That sounds dumb. I guess it makes sense. Most of the time someone's translated for me or I've communicated between two devices. I wonder why it needs that second part though. Surely this monitor should be enough now that the AI has translated most of my language, right? I guess not. So, what are you doing down here? His expression hides a stern tone. He's asking a question that I don't even know the answer to. I was taking a walk? He's less than impressed. A walk? Yeah? You seemed like you were in shock when I found you. It's understandable if you don't remember. Perhaps it'll come back to you. I certainly hope so. Well, are you alright otherwise? It was quite a shock to find you down here so early. I was worried. I still am, of course. I don't know.
Unsure.
I'm sorry to hear that. I think it might be best if Dr. Senno looked you over as soon as possible, just to make sure. Yeah. In the meantime, please try to relax. But I think that it might be time that we finally had a conversation of our own. If you think that it's too much, please let me know, and you can just rest if you'd want. Otherwise, I believe that I owe you at least a few explanations. Explanations? Huh? I can't provide all of them, but if you have a question on something, please, now might be the time to ask. Isn't this the guy who called me a subject the last time that I saw him? I guess he had a change of heart, or the captain got to him again. And what the hell am I supposed to ask about? The list is almost too long to know where to begin. I know he's trying to atone for what he did, but that doesn't mean that he's about to spill his guts on the floor and tell me everything that he knows about this place. Although, asking couldn't hurt. Huh. This is way too much to think about this early in the morning. Well, I guess that I could ask about him. Isn't that the polite thing to do? I'm past being polite, but still. I don't really know much about the guy besides the fact that he's some genius professor or something. Maybe he'll slip up and tell me something about the projects that he's working on. The projects he said that I could ask about. Man, I'm still too on edge from earlier. Can you tell me about yourself?
Who are you?
I guess that works. You want to know about me? Well, I suppose that makes some sense. Although, have I not introduced myself enough? I am the head researcher here aboard the Icoroid 2. While I do research particle physics, I feel that it is safe to tell you that it is not my focus. Most of my time is spent working with the Mayron, just trying to figure out what makes it tick. They really don't know what it is, huh? I wonder if he'd tell me more if I asked. Otherwise, I am the research board for Socknos, which is not as prestigious as it sounds. I am still far from being able to work on my own projects, let alone ask for more funding. They run a tight ship and I respect that. But sometimes, I believe that they ask too much, even now. I'm not entirely sure of what else would be of interest to you. But if you think of something else, do ask. I guess that's enough. He didn't tell me anything about his personal life, let alone Merowyn. But I shouldn't have expected that. He really didn't go into depth on anything, actually. I should press him for something while I have the chance. Alright, I'm exhausted, beaten up, and probably going to regret this, but I have to ask. Tyr, what's the Mayron?
What is the star?
I stare at the box as it translates. That is decidedly not what I said. Maybe it was just a translation error? But then why does Tyr look so confused as well? Almost more so than me. Yes, I thought you might ask about that. I am surprised that you waited so long to ask, actually. I figured those would be the first words out of your mouth. I'll tell you what I can. But first, please, what do you know of it? I let out a huff. I didn't come here to be tested, but fine. It's an engine of some sort, generating enough energy to run this whole place. It's dangerous and can't be used at full power. And it's broken, and you don't know why. Tucker, what we have here is everything that you said and more. It's not just some generator spewing out radiation and electromagnetic waves. It's the future of all Karain kind. Oh boy, hearing rhetoric like that certainly raises a brow. It's the very core of all of our work here, but you know that already. In short, it's an extremely powerful energy source, yes. But as you've experienced, it can be so much more. Can you tell me where it's from? No. Fine. Can you at least tell me more than some shitty spiel used to intrigue Socknos investors? The captain was right about you. Smart, enough to cause a stir. I wish you wouldn't talk about me like I'm not here. Sir? Oh, right. Of course. Well, I doubt that it will shock you to know that our project began before we were even on the station. Our research with the Mayron started all the way back on the Icoroid on Io. Although, it wasn't until I met. His eyes go blank as he cuts himself off. He looks like he wanted to swallow back the words, but they've already left. For someone who said that I could ask him anything, he seems to be quite tight-lipped all of a sudden. Who did you meet? My expression betrays myself as I can't wipe the dissatisfaction away. Not all Sennos are professors, but they may all be liars. Ignoring me, he gets up and pours himself something into a glass. I crumple my paper cup further. It looks hard, probably bitter too. There is a sickly, dark red color to it, unlike anything that I've seen back home. I'm sure that it would kill me. For but a moment. I wish that it'd kill me. He downs it, looking at me from over his shoulder. His expression settles and he regains some composure. We both know that it's fake. We both wear masks. I put on a harmless smile as he prepares to retch up the best lie that he can think of. We smile at each other before he continues. Oh, my contact at Socknose. It wasn't until I met them that I was introduced to the Icaroid team. A lie within a lie? Or perhaps just another truth? I'll take it at face value, although I am unsure of what I should believe now that I am here. He did say that he couldn't tell me everything. It would be nice if he just said it was private instead of trying to confuse me. Is that when you started working for them? Oh no, Socknose wasn't founded until... Have you been informed of what happened to the Icaroid? The one on Io? Only in passing, but I feel like Tyr's explanation probably wouldn't be better than Merowyn's. I have? Right. Good. That's good. But, Socknose wasn't founded until after we lost the Icaroid. They are the survivors making sure that it would never happen again. The Crisis forced change, and Io backed the next best thing with the joint development of the Icaroid 2. So that's the only reason any of this happened? Sure, I mean it makes sense, but damn. The station itself wasn't even as old as this one before everything fell apart. I wasn't on board at the time, if that wasn't obvious. How old was the station when it fell? Only some 20-odd cycles. Then there is a moment of silence. It's a cold remembrance of a tragedy that I may not have been alive for. It clearly means a lot to Tyr, more than he's willing to tell me. I didn't appreciate that many of those he worked with might not have survived. In fact, I'm willing to bet that they didn't. Right. I'm sorry. Oh, you don't have to be. But thank you. Back to the Icaroid, though. It wasn't until we built a chassis for the Mayron that we were able to get any work done. We? Oh, the researchers that I worked with before. As a team, we spearheaded most of what we have in terms of research on the Mayron. So, is that why you can't fix it? You lost too many people in the disaster? Correct. We're missing some of the seminal documentation that recorded our findings. Without that work, it has become harder to keep it functional. Except until recently, huh? What do you mean? Well, it brought me here. I'm guessing that it's never done anything like that before, right? No, it hasn't. Although I doubt that it was intended to do that. And you're sure? You're sure that you know what it intends on doing? I can't take the lies. I'm used to being spoken down to. But I'm tired of my situation being reduced to someone else's mistake. Someone, somewhere, made a choice. And now I'm paying for it. I'm sorry. Please continue. Right. Until the chassis... I'm starting to see why the captain might act like she does sometimes. Although I don't intend on being as mean as her. Yet. While the chassis is important, it's not the only moving part in the story. The other part is where my research comes in, and I fear what may have been the cause of all of this. What do you mean? While the Mayron can output an amazing amount of power, without being told where to direct it, it ends up being, well, catastrophic. It's only due to my neural-based systems that we have any attempt at guiding it. Oh, I guess that would explain how he's able to work on it at all, really. The captain did say that he was an expert on it. The only one. Let me explain. Think of the Mayron as a battery for a monitor, and then the chassis as its core. I provide the programming to let them communicate. And in this most recent experiment, we tried something new. Well, congratulations, Professor. I think whatever you did might have worked. You jest, but you may be correct. Whatever changes I made to the neural seem to have allowed for something. But we're still unsure as to what. What do you mean by that? I'm here. Isn't that enough? Enough? Tucker, we have no idea why you're here. I didn't want that. I didn't want any of this. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I never would have wanted to tear you away from your life, and I sure as void didn't tell the Mayron to do that. I believe him, but it doesn't change my mood. So, what did you change then? That's the question, isn't it? There were multiple changes, most of which I thought were superfluous. Either way, we can't check the internal systems until the Mayron is safe to interact with again. All of the data that we got back from our peripheral machines turned out to be garbled nonsense, mostly repeating numbers and words. Which isn't the first time that it's done that either. Well, how long until that happens? How long until I can stop doing whatever this is? Tucker, I am not sure that there will ever be a time that you can stop. I'm sorry. Right, I should have expected as much. It's taken him almost 100 cycles just to get this far. Who knows how long it will take for him to fix any of it. But the Mayron should be safe for personal use in another few days. Right, when Socknose shows up? Correct. They knew about the test, just not the outcome. I can hide away, I guess. Although I doubt that that's gonna be easy when the whole crew knows I exist. I hadn't thought of that. If introductions need to be made, I'll make sure that you're well prepared. Thanks. Of course. But, was that a sufficient explanation? I am sorry that it's not something that can be easily explained. He puts his elbow on his desk and rests his head, his muzzle just breaching the bridge of his fingers. I'd almost say that he's trying to look intimidating if he weren't so short. Is that enough? I mean, it's a generator, I knew that already. Some fucked up and weird engine that no one knows how to fix and no one can predict. Even still, something's off. He can tell me its history, but not where it's from. They didn't create it, did they? No, he was specific. They built the chassis. He built the neural, so where's the battery from? Does he even know? I rub my eyes and stare blankly at the ceiling. I'm not going anywhere. That's the end of it, really. I can ask another day, maybe one where I'm less battered and bruised. I know there's more to it, though. No, I think I understand. Just be careful with it, please. I know you're dedicated your life to this thing, but it's not worth losing more lives over it. He lowers his brow, hiding more and more behind the mask. I struck a chord, one that I did not mean to. I merely meant my own life, but has this thing really taken its toll in flesh? No, I need to know more before I come to that conclusion. Of course. We'll be under close scrutiny from Socknose until we can get things sorted out here. I promise you, Tucker, I'll do everything that I can. I know. I'll believe it when I see it. Words muttered under my breath still find purchase as Tyr lets out a small sigh. A tenuous silence forms before an idea blooms. I do have one question, actually. Yes? How... How damaged is it? He looks nervous, like this is a question that he's answered before, and the response is already bad. It's irreparable. But it's been beyond repair for cycles. The damage hasn't seemed to change the functionality, though. And it's not like we can fix it without her research anyways. Her? That must have been an accident, but no, I think that was the first truth tonight. I wonder if, whoever she is, she's to blame for all of this. No. I can clearly just blame Tyr instead. Even the captain thinks that's alright. Still, I don't think he noticed his mistake. He's just looking over his cobbled together device. Well, how about this, I think that I should be able to get something a bit less, well, bulky finished in a few days. I've been forbidden to work on the May run until Socknose gets here anyways. Not that I even could, What are you talking about? The translator. It's not the best, I know. I think I'm going to have to find a better way to transport it. But for a prototype, I'd say that it works fairly well. I'm inclined to disagree, but I just nod anyways. He happily turns some knobs on his device as I watch him through half-lit eyes. This man in front of me, who is he? Is he a genius or a thief? The captain seems to think that he's both, and I'm inclined to agree. Better the words from his mouth, though. I could at least ask. Senno? Can you tell me about yourself, more than just your superficial titles?
Who are you, really?
I couldn't have said it better myself. Strange talking box. Maybe it is working as intended after all. Oh, you want to know more about me? Well, I suppose that's not all that surprising. But if you're interested, that I can certainly oblige. I am unsure if you know this, but the Karain in front of you is 147 cycles old. Almost 148. So I might not be able to shorten down everything for you, but I think that I can give a summary of some kind. Let's see. Well, I was born in Ailio. This was before the raising of the towers. Sky pillars, sorry. That doesn't explain it at all. I know you may have the impression that all Sennos are researchers or doctors, but truly my parents were farmers. We made enough to get by, sure, but things were calmer in the belt during that time. I am not sure how much there is to say on my early life. Isn't Rowan from there too? I'm sure it's a massive region, but it'd be funny if they were neighbors. Truly nothing of note really happened until I got to work on the Icaroid. I believe that I was already in my 60s at the time. Already graying too, But oh my, what a station. Far nicer than this pale imitation. But she gets the job done. For a station that crashed and burned, they really speak of it as though it were some godsend. Maybe it was worth the sorrow in the end. I guess he didn't meet his team there. This was before Socknose, as you know, and so I didn't have a name for myself at the time. None of us were prepared for the amount of work that it would take just to keep projects running there. Crews were brought in and cut only days apart. Funding came and went like it was nothing. Some of the best humanitarian work that I've ever seen was done in the blink of an eye on that station. Maybe that's why it couldn't last. But it worked out in the end. I managed to get a spot working on the... What was it called again? The Experimental Mass Coalescence Department? Something along those lines. We were really just a group of physicists who wanted a more interesting title. Either way, it was a bizarre team. No one really knew what we were doing, but we managed to get enough funding to sustain ourselves for a few years. Eventually, we managed to get a government contract, huge in fact, but we couldn't understand why. Until, of course, it all made sense. The May Run. They brought us the May Run. I cock my head. Does he mean to tell me that it was just gifted to him? Surely not. But then... my head is spinning. Not only is my jaw throbbing, but I suddenly have 20 more questions for him. 20 more lies that he could tell me. So, wait, I'm sorry. Who brought it to you? Oh, right. At the time, there was a team of alien scientists working on some primary research on this device. When they got wind that our expertise lined up, we merged teams and worked from there. Okay, sure. That sounds feasible. Wait, fuck. No. He said that he wouldn't tell me where the Mayron came from, but all of a sudden he's telling me that he got it from some alien researchers? Just like that? No, that can't be right. He must be lying again. It's a half-truth at best. I let out a small groan and rubbed my eyes. Fortunately, it seems that Tyr just thinks that I'm tired as he offers me another cup of water. I decline and wave him along in his story. Well, after the Icoroid tragedy, our research was almost brought to a complete halt. We're lucky anything survived, really. When we heard that Soknos was looking into a new orbital station, however, we had to stake our claim. I took upon the leadership role and rallied what was left of the original team. I suppose that the rest is history, as we've been working almost non-stop since then. How long ago was this? About 40 cycles or so. The station itself was built fairly quickly. She's already been in service for twice as long as the original. I've heard that there were musings of another station being built, but I can't keep up with all of it. He's been working on the same project for over 60 cycles then, 40 of which were probably in his office. I mean, he's dedicated, that's for sure. Wait a minute. If he's been here for that long, then where does Merowyn fit into all of this? Tyr? When did you meet Merowyn? Of course. Merowyn. My son. Even if he didn't say it in a biting tone, his phrasing alone feels like a call for alarm. Merowyn wasn't even born before I started working on the Icoroid 2. He's fortunate enough to have missed most of the tragedies that have been befallen the Karain, not to say that he's without his own hardship. I'm sure that you are aware of his condition. I believe so, yes. His heart? Yes, he was born with it, or so I was told. I didn't meet the boy until he was already 6 or 7 cycles old. You should have seen him. He already came up to here. He raised his hand above his head. He almost sounds proud. Stark contrast to his introduction. He laughs himself out of a small stupor and listlessly looks off to the side. Is he looking at the photos from earlier? No, surely not. I saw those and he was barely in them. It was a chance encounter, really. I was back in Ailio for a talk, and he was just there. Something about the orphanage giving a tour that day. I truly can't remember at this point. But oh, he was such a cute pup. The words sound like a whisper as they leave his weathered lips. He glances back at me and straightens himself up. After I heard about his condition, I knew that I had to do something. He was lucky to have lived for so long without the replacement, and I was glad to assist his recovery. He even had his own neural. It was custom made by his father. He swirls what's left of his drink in his glass. Something's missing, but this time I can't bring myself to pry further. Did you know that he wanted to be an astronaut? He grew out of it, I suppose. I fear his love for medicine sprouted from the moment, and I suppose that I can't blame him. He's done well for himself, and that's all that I could ask for, really. He sounds like he's trying to convince himself more than anything. It's almost saddening. I knew Tyr wasn't particularly happy with Merowyn's life choices, but he almost seems like he's lost something crucial to his very being. He's a good man. This is usually the part where the dad says, "He sure is," longingly and lovingly. Hell, even my dad would, and he's barely home half the time. But instead, Tyr just swirls his near empty glass. He would have made a better astronaut. I have to change the subject. This is hard, even for me. I can't imagine what's going through his mind right now. Well, that's it then, yes? You made your home here and have been working since? Well, it's not that simple, but yes, we have. As much as working under Socknose can feel like a burden, I am glad to do it. Especially if this allows me to keep working with the Mayron. Although... He cuts himself off again. I feel like he's practically begging me to intrude at this point. That Socknose crew is coming soon, yeah? Who are they? Hopefully no one. It's not uncommon for Socknose to interfere with our work, but they rarely send people all the way out here to do it in person. It's probably just to scare us into shape more than anything. They like to keep tabs on their projects. And well, things have been a bit strange down here recently, as you can imagine. Do they know about me? I hope not. What? Did you expect them to? Barely anyone knows about you, Tucker. You know that. The whole station knows about me. So? Mouth agape, I simply stare in disbelief as Tyr gives me a confused look. You'd have to ask the captain about that. I'm not sure who she chose to share your existence with. Still, I doubt a random Socknose technician would have prior knowledge of your existence. Has word of me not spread from the station? I kinda figured that it'd be a big deal by now. Wait, am I self-absorbed for thinking that? No, I'm an alien. Aliens are cool as fuck. I guess I'll have to ask the captain next time I see her. Well, okay. Do you know how long it is until they arrive? It shouldn't be much longer. I heard that they successfully performed a slingshot around Morendi after refueling on Reich. Which is to say that they're close. I'd keep an eye out for someone in gray uniforms, but that's most of the people on the damn station already. Ugh. It's fine. With how big this place is, I'm pretty sure that I can stay out of their way. I rub my eyes as the morning malaise slowly creeps back in. I wince as I rub my sore gums. What a morning. And it's still what, the 7th mark? Fuck me. Tyr seems to be feeling the same as he yawns and checks the time. Well, I'm a bit shocked that your guardians seem to be taking so long to answer their monitors. You're welcome to stay here as long as you like. I'm not sure how much work that I can get done today anyways. Thank you, Tyr. Of course. Despite the fact that he's probably fed me bullshit for the past spark or so, his smile does afford me some rest as I lay back in my chair. I don't think Tyr would ever do anything to hurt me. Well, he at least feels somewhat responsible. I think he's trying to keep me safe in his own way. That explains some things. Well, I'm a bit more upset now, but at least that clears up a few things at least. The room returns to a taciturn state as we both bathe in the awful existence of the early morning hours. Tyr looks like he's ready for another shot, while I would kill for some ibuprofen. He checks his email as we both breathe silently in the dull air. A silent minute goes by until he speaks up again. Tucker? I know it's still early, but I was wondering if I could ask you a few more questions while I had you here. Huh? Again with this? What do you mean? Well, as much as I appreciate the crew taking care of you, it has left scant little time for me to be able to check in on things. While the captain didn't specifically put me in charge of your, let's say, mental well-being, I still believe it is important. I was just wondering how things have been going for you. And I know today might be an obvious outliner, but I was curious if you could perhaps share a bit more with me. Isn't he getting the reports the same as everyone else? Well, I guess the reports are only as good as Rowan writes them up to be. Which probably leaves a lot to be desired. And I know he's been prone to ignoring certain reports in the past. What did you have in mind? Well, I've read what I can about you, Tucker, but we haven't exactly had much time to converse together. Our last meeting wasn't exactly what I would call fortuitous either. It was for me. I can only serve you so well as I know what you want. And before you say it, I know you want to go home. I am sorry that is not something that I can promise right now. It would just help me if I knew how to help you. Ugh, I feel like I've heard that spiel before back on Earth. The help never feels at all helpful. I'm not too sure what I can ask for. I'm eating well. Enough. My room is fine. I enjoy living with Rowan, and the captain helped me get this uniform, so I'm not dirty all the time anymore. No, I suppose it was a bit of a nebulous question. I apologize. I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying your living quarters, however. I was a bit worried when Merowyn suggested it to me, but I'm glad that it turned out all right. Were you worried for me or of me? That thought wasn't meant to slip out like that. A bit of both, I must say. The thought of an alien living with a Karain in close quarters was worrying, to say the least. Phew, thank goodness he thought it was a joke. No, I am glad that you have been able to get out and start learning about the station. Have you been treated fine? No one's been causing any trouble for you. I can only do so much from down here, but if there is an issue, I can make some calls. I've been alright. The crew tends to keep their distance, and I haven't been harassed or anything like that. That's good. I was worried that something like that may happen. Karain can be quick to judge at times. But if you're alright, then there is no need to worry. I'm sure your guardians can take care of you well enough. They've been great, yeah. I've even had a chance to meet some of their co-workers. It's, been interesting. They're more like humans than I'm sure either of us would like to acknowledge. It seems we may be. For better or for worse, I've yet to fully decide. And your new position? Has that been suiting you well? It keeps my mind off of things. It's better than sitting around all day at least. Yes, well, I trust you'll make the best of it. There's only so much that you can do out on your own. For now. Of course. Well, I am glad to hear that things have been alright since we last met. Oh, I've been meaning to ask though, were you alright that day? You seemed a bit, well, quieter than usual. What do you mean? I don't mean to be rude, Tucker. It's just that you seemed a bit less grounded than our previous meetings. I turned to check on you at one point, and you were staring at the floor with such a blank expression. I was thinking of stopping the meeting, but you seemed to snap out of it. I'm sure it's mostly a stress response, but have you noticed anything similar? I'm sure that we could get Dr. Senno to look into it for you, amongst the other things that we should check on. Thinking back on that day, nothing concrete crosses my mind. I mean, I was totally freaking out that morning, but by the time that I got into her office, I was mostly okay. I can't say I do. Maybe I just forgot. You forgot? Well, it's something to keep an eye on. Nothing good can come from that. Oh, speaking of forgetting, I was meaning to ask again. Did you remember why you came down here this morning? It was quite a shock finding you how I did. Look at me, talking about forgetting things and only bringing this up now. Yeah. Oh, no, I was... Pale lies cut through my consciousness as I reach for where the thought should be. I was... There is nothing to be gleaned here. Forget while it still lets you. You... I forgot. His expression is slow to change. Confusion blooms into sudden and abject horror in the span of a wing beat, only barely subsiding as he ekes out his words. You... forgot? Tucker, are you sure you're all right? Can you tell me where you are? I'm in your office on the Icaroid 2. Okay. Can you tell me what you were doing this morning before we met? There was something there. Tangible moments of fear and pain. I remember those. They're ingrained into my flesh. Sordid and malignant trophies of a battle I lost. Pieces of it come back to me as I find more and more clues to grasp onto. A bruised arm, a cut leg, a broken tooth. Tear visibly recoils as I pulled it out of my pocket. I stare at the bloody stump, and it comes back to me. I... I thought I saw something. You saw something? What was it? A lure, a ghost, a mascot? Perhaps that didn't translate well. Could you say that one more time? It was a mascot. I know it was. Why is this so hard for me to remember? I grasp the side of my head as a slight headache begins to come on. When did I start raising my voice? Tucker, please calm down. It's quite all right. I'm here. There are no station mascots, so I'm not sure what you could have seen. Perhaps it was a wayward crew member? Have you seen them before? Seen them? Wait, I hadn't I? Hissing like a gas leak. They only wanted to be heard from afar. I think I have. It was a thrumming and beating and mechanical and melodic and wrong. It was in a dream. It wasn't worth turning to face it. I won't see it. It's not worth turning to face it. They won't let me see it. Tucker? Tucker, are you all right? Is something wrong? Surely this isn't translating correctly. A billion broken voices, shattered and wrong, all sing in joy as my heart stops. How could I forget about you? Oh, by the void, what is happening? My skin writhes as my mind goes blank. Words unspoken translate across static airwaves. Something's wrong. He's here. What is it? There is no one here. It is just us. My lips are moving, but I am not. Professor, I remember now. What is it? Are you okay? Damn it, Merowyn, answer your monitor! I've lost control of my life. I know why I came down here. I wanted to talk to you. Okay? Okay, let's talk. What do you need? I remember so much, things I never even learned. Words that I couldn't have heard and wish never to be spoken. Sounds that I can't form with my rotten tongue, but maybe I could. If it just weren't for that one thing. That awful thing staring back at me in the mirror. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. Immediately I start sobbing, falling against Tear's cold desk as I hold my head in my hands. What is happening? Slamming the desk does nothing but hurt my already sore body. Oh, no, Tucker. Please calm down. He steps behind me and puts a paw to my back. I wouldn't have taken him for one to console, but it's the best that I can get right now. As awful as it was, I can't let it fade. I have to remember this time. The songs, the chants, all the lost to the static. But what happened to me? What I saw? It seems to be sticking. For now. I grip my hands so hard that I worry that I'm going to bleed. The scars will live on as a memory, even if my mind cannot. Although I know to the Karain, even scars are temporary. My breath starts to slow and cool, the taste of the bile slick on my tongue. Tyr frantically bounces around the room, offering me water and checking his monitor. Pulling myself up, I make eye contact with him, barely breathing through the ragged breaths. I think something is wrong with me. He takes a quick look around the room before returning to his desk. Tucker, I will do what I can to help you, but I need to know, what just happened? I don't know. I saw something I had seen before, but only in a dream. And your memory problems, is this related? It must be. I think this has happened more than once now. I think you were right about that meeting with the captain. I don't think that I was just zoning out. I must have just forgotten it all. Have you ever heard of anything like this? Memory loss, hallucinations, possible somnambulism. They could be... Well, they are technically all symptoms of extreme stress. But what you're undergoing. Can you recall anything else? Can I? My mind is a mess right now, adrenaline still coursing through me, hampering any and all logical thought. I still want to run. I still want to hide. I might have heard voices, but I can't remember what they said. I'm sorry. Oh, please, no, Tucker. It's fine. You've done quite enough. Let me think. The room is still ripe with the smell of fear as Tyr taps his claws on his desk. His eyes dart about as he mumbles under his breath. Hey. I should remind you that I am not technically a medical doctor. My research is in physics. I'm sure that if I could get a hold of Merowyn, he could. His head snaps to the translator, and he rips his monitor out. I'm almost too shocked to move, as I can barely offer a "Are you okay?" The room is silent. He tore out his tongue. It will translate no longer. I'm alone again, with an increasingly frantic man. Hallucinations? Memory loss? Possible schizophrenia? But he'd have to. I mumbled under panicked breaths. Tyr? You're worrying me. Is something wrong? I know he can't hear me, but I don't know what else to do. The conditions have changed, but how would he? Surely not. I am just overreacting. His unfocused eyes shoot up and down the dim room before finally landing on me. A sore sight for eyes. That's for sure. Taken aback by his own outburst, he takes a moment. It seems the both of us are having quite the morning. Tucker, I'm going to heavily suggest that you let Dr. Senno look over you immediately. I'll send him the full list of tests, but we just need to be sure everything is okay with you. Okay? With what? Did something happen? I'm sorry. I don't have time to fix the translator right now. I'm going to step out and... His monitor lights up as multiple messages come flooding in. Oh my, this is unexpected. I can only raise a brow as he fails to elaborate. It seems my communications have been offline. Perhaps some residual effect from the hum. Never mind. You'll be happy to know that your guardian is on their way. I can take you to where you can meet them, if that's alright. Without even waiting for an answer, he's already walking past me and holding open the door. What happened in those brief moments? Feeling the tension bleeding into the room, I decide not to keep him waiting long. Taking one last look around the room, I stare where once there was a corpse. When nothing reveals itself to me, I resign myself to the cold corridors and head out. My heart hasn't stopped trying to escape my chest since that dead thing loomed over Tyr. Being kicked out like this, my mind hasn't been able to stop racing either. He hasn't said a word since we left his room. He's just been muzzle deep in some files on his monitor. We even passed our first flesh and blood crew member, and he barely even acknowledged them. And he didn't even bother introducing me. Although I think I just realized how disgusting I might be. I've got blood on my shirt, my shoes are wet with void knows what, and my pants are torn at the knee. And it's what, basically 7 in the morning? By the eye. It's going to be a long day. Ugh. I managed to catch up to Tyr as he waits by an elevator, impatiently tapping his foot the whole time. I cough to grab his attention, but it seems like he's still determined as ever to ignore me. He's mumbling something about cognitive pathways before I cough again, louder this time. Oh, do you need anything, Tucker? He tries to stow his monitor, perhaps forgetting that I couldn't read it anyways. We should be able to get you out of here in just a moment. I do hope that you can rest for the remainder of the day. I open my mouth to speak, but there are so many things that I want to say, want to ask, but instead sigh. Tyr can see my frustration, but unlike earlier, he seems to be unmoved by it. Instead, opening his monitor off to the side, just out of eyeshot. The elevator arrives and we get on. Arriving quickly, Tyr closes his monitor as he leads me away, finally deciding to speak up of his own volition. I've sent some messages to your guardians, especially Dr. Senno, telling them how I found you this morning. I left out any mentions of what you say you saw. I thought that it'd be best that they hear that from you. All of a sudden, I feel he trusts me even less. Like everything that I said earlier was some joke, something that aliens said to get a rise out of him. He still seems on edge, but I feel as though it's for a different reason. But when he rips out the translator's tongue, I lost all chances of asking today. Yeah, thank you. Simple words, maybe some he can even understand without a neural bridge. He lets out a wary smile as we trot along silently for a hallway or so. My breath is still cut and wavering, his measured and paced, but a mask. I think that he's just become really good at hiding how scared he is. And in his line of work, I can't blame him. Alright, Tucker, this is where I must take my leave. I've been informed that your guardian will meet you here. They should be close. Do you mind waiting? Do I mind waiting? Of course I fucking mind. After the morning that I've had, you should fucking... I shake my head no. He seems worried but complacent. Well, I'll be in touch. And that's it. He starts heading down the hallway and quickly disappears out of sight. I could barely argue if I wanted to. Were I not in shock, maybe an attempt would be made, but not now. Next time, if that translator works again, I'm going to have some choice words for him. We'll see how well a neural can translate insults. Sighing, I hold myself and slump against one of the walls. My body is still registering the events of this morning. At least I remember everything. Even if part of me wishes I didn't. Go Bulldogs. It's cold again. Less than a mark passes before the lights turn on and day truly begins. No Karain come down here, wherever here is. But it's not much longer before I hear measured steps headed my way. In a vain attempt at trying to appear at all presentable, I wrap myself and straighten my jacket only to see Maruk round the corner. Maruk? What are you doing down here? He comes power walking up to me. Furious shadows paint his face as a blue eye cuts through me. Where have you... By the void! You look like shit! What happened to you? I, went for a walk? What the fuck are you talking about? Do you know how many messages I've gotten this morning? And of course, he's completely unreachable. Do you even know how hard it is to get down here from my office? it, it's good to see you too, Maruk. Yeah. Are you alright though? You don't look so hot, kid. I've had a bit of a weird morning. Do you think that we could go sit down for a bit? Yeah, wasn't doing much this morning anyways. Here, let me help you. Thanks. I take his paw and he helps me to my feet. It's not long before we find a quiet corner to rest, but Maruk insists on going just a bit further. Confused, but more so exhausted, I oblige. Well, I guess this works too. Maruk closes the door behind us before shooting out some messages on his monitor. It's not that I'm unhappy to see him, but he's not the face that I expected to see this morning. Although I've seen quite a few unexpected things today as it is. It might have been nice to see Rowan, though. Even after what happened. Hey Maruk? What's up, kid? Where's Rowan? Who knows? He wasn't responding in time, so I had to lug my ass down here to save you. My hero. He rolls his eyes, clearly trying to hide a smile. But really, he better not be sleeping in some void-forsaken tunnel again. Ugh, I shouldn't think like that. I take up enough of his time as it is. Anyways, I'm fine now that Maruk's here. So, kid. What the fuck? What happened? What do I even say? I guess I should try to explain it to him. He'd believe me, right? Knowing Maruk, he might just think that it's a bad joke. Maruk, I'm not really sure what happened. You're not sure? A mixture of worry and confusion washes over his face. Sitting beside me, he hunches over in a vain but kind attempt at keeping eye level. I have to say something that isn't going to sound possible. I told Tyr, but I'm not sure he believes me. Please, I need you to trust me. He looks like he wants to interject, but he thinks better of it. I thought that I saw something in the tunnels, and I ran. I don't know what it was, but I think that I've seen it before in my dreams. Your dreams? Like a nightmare or some shit? I know he said something about you not sleeping well, but I didn't know that it was this bad. See, that's not their fault. I've had a hard time remembering things too, and I only realized that something was wrong once I got down there. It's like the memories just came back. So, wait, you wanted to go down there? He tilts his head in confusion, but his ears stay straight, defying gravity. Well, I don't think I did. No. I'm confused, kid. How did you end up down there then? What made jumping into a dark tunnel sound like a good idea? Maybe if I remembered any of it. I barely even remember getting out of bed, and then suddenly, I was just alone. His expression burns away, leaving only a scowl. And yet, I have no idea how to better describe it. I think something wanted to meet me. And this is the same thing from your dreams? Yeah. No. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore, Maruk. I start rubbing my arm and looking away. He makes no sounds, but I can see a faint light breach from over my shoulder. I hope that I'm not scaring him away. I need him here right now. And this hasn't happened before? This isn't like a normal thing for humans to do, is it? Because then that's more of Doc's kind of expertise, really. No, Maruk. Humans don't usually lose their memories and start walking randomly around. Could have fooled me. Turning back with a snarl, I expect a mocking grin, but instead he seems so calm. I think he is just trying to cheer me up. He might not be able to help, but he does care. Yeah, it might have happened before. Um, I've had times where I kind of black out. I thought that I was just dreaming or something, but now he turns away, resting his head in his hands. A blue globe barely escapes from the seams of his fingers. So you have any idea what it could be? Anything at all? No. Tyr might, but he seemed worried about telling me. I mean, it could be a ghost. Oh yeah, we get those from time to time. Really? No. Oh. Feeling a bit silly, I turn away, only to be surprised as he pats my back. Heh, you're alright, kid. Thanks. I don't feel alright, but it's sweet of him nonetheless. Well, ghosts aside, I don't know what it was. Tyr couldn't see it either, so that's even more concerning. It's probably just stress then. That kind of shit happens. I know when I was going through physical therapy, I saw some stuff that I couldn't explain. That could have been all the meds that I was on, though. You'd have to ask Doc about that. Physical therapy? For what? His eye? I guess that makes sense. No, I think it was more. I've had crazy dreams before, but this was something else. I could feel it. A streak of unease cuts through him as he kneads his fists in his lap. Is he getting freaked out? I feel awful, but I really need him here. I mean, it could be nothing, I guess. What do you think? Me? Well, I think you're crazy, but we both already knew that. Fuck off. I'm being serious. Yeah. Well, do you think something caused this? I might actually. And? Well, I don't know if you heard, but, Tyr gave me my monitor back. Yeah, I remember him posting about that in the chat. The chat? Wait, hold on. You guys are all in a group chat? Yeah, we are. Merowyn put me in it when you got out of your cell. Said that it was best if we all stayed up to date on things. Are you playing nice? Fuck off. I barely use the thing. I just check in to make sure that you're alright. Which is my job, by the way. He huffs and turns away, hiding a small blush. But, what about it? Huh? Your monitor. It worked, yeah? Oh, right. Well, kinda. I was able to open it and check my old messages and stuff, but... well, it didn't work for very long. Messages started disappearing and I couldn't open any of the apps. Eventually, everything just... broke. Probably because I smashed the damn thing. I'm sure you heard about that. It, might have come up. But you think that caused... whatever this was? He gestures vaguely with his paw. I don't know. Maybe. Probably. I got, well, pretty stressed out. You didn't get out of bed for a whole day, Tucker. He said that he thought that you were dying. Maybe I was more than a little stressed out. Have you spoken to him? Huh? You don't, happen to know how Rowan is doing, do you? I regret asking almost immediately, as any fledgling smile that was on his face is wiped away. He takes a deep breath before... He's probably not doing great. That was a surprisingly genuine answer. It's not great to hear, but I expected as much. He's not the best at messaging the rest of us, let alone responding in the chat. But yeah, he sent some worrying messages. I have a feeling that's not entirely Rowan's fault. And he said that you had an accident and that you wanted to be alone. That was the gist of it, at least. It was hard to decipher anything through his awful shorthand. I don't understand how he types at all with that piece of junk. Maruk. Huh? Oh, right, sorry. Well, I wasn't happy with what he sent, so I went to go check for myself. Your door was locked, and he already slipped out, so I had to find him when he was repairing something on the upper floors. Oh no. Please tell me that you were civil about it. What? I'm nothing but. I sigh and he continues. Look, nothing much happened, okay? I promise I didn't even yell or anything. I asked him what happened and why you were still in your room. He stuttered out some excuse and that was that. Are you sure that was it? You know he's kind of afraid of you, Maruk. I know. There was a tinge of pride in his words, but I have no time for it right now. Fortunately, he doesn't leave me waiting. I know that he's important to you, Tucker. And I know he cares about you too. Despite being a jackass, I can't help myself as I lean into him, laying my head on his arm. I care about you too, Maruk. You know that, right? I know, kid. I know. Listen, he looked pretty bad. More so than usual. So, you might want to say something to him. And I, can't really help you with that. I know. I'm sorry. Save the apologies for him, not me. I'll be sure to. If he lets me. I feel awful for what I said. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. It's certainly better than having to stop him from setting the station on high alert again. He almost did what? Did I, forget to mention that? Yeah, I heard some commotion in the hallway and went to go check it out. The guy was trying to throw the emergency alarm. Seems like when he woke up and saw that you were missing, he had the bright idea to set off the station's early warning system. You know, the big red strobe lights? He did not. Why didn't he lead with this? Well, what happened? I don't remember seeing the alarm go off, and Tyr didn't mention it. Tucker, I'm the head of security. He doesn't have the clearance to set that off. Anyways, he calmed down pretty quickly after that. He seemed pretty upset, but he just kinda slinked off. Fuck. Whether or not leaving the room this morning was even something that I did on my own volition, I still need to apologize for it. And for yelling at him. A paw lands on my head, slightly ruffling my hair. Hey, what's going on in there? Nothing good comes from you being all quiet. I'm sorry for yelling. I'm sorry for walking out. I'm sorry for being here. I'm hurt. I'm glad to have you guys. You should tell that to him, not me. But he pulls me into his side again, now harmlessly knuckling the top of my head. I'm glad to have you too, kid. A few tears damp his fur and clothes, but I'm glad to be crying them. I grip his outfit, tensing as hard as I can before letting him go. What time is it anyways? It's super early still, yeah? 8th mark? Why? I should probably go say something to him. I don't know if I'm going to be able to work, but I can at least check in. Oh, sure. I'll walk you over, but Take your time, yeah? I know it's been a morning. You don't need to get back to work? He looks at his monitor, quickly scanning something before turning back to me. There is the faintest hint of something behind his eyes, and... Nah, I got all day, kid. And I almost cry again. Oh, Maruk. To be continued. And that is why Maruk is the second best boy. I'm pretty sure that my friend Jackson would say that he is the first best boy. But still. Anyways, thank you for reading. Written and illustrated by Cryptid Dog. I'd like to give credit to Wise for the fantastic menu art. I'd like to thank Brandel for the amazing amount of work that they've done proofreading. Thank you to David Odell for the music. And thank you to Zoe for the sound edit. Thank you all of my patrons. This project would be impossible without your support. And special thanks to Winter Answer, Jackson, oh look, there's Jackson, Marcy, and Mason. May our roads again cross. That's the Jackson that I'm referring to. So if you ever hear me say or mention somebody named Jackson, the Jackson that you saw right there is a Jackson that I'm referring to. Anyways, so that was quite traumatic for poor little Tucker. Not at all unexpected, of course. He was already seeing and experiencing weird little things here and there. Most of it could have been chalked up to the fact that he is on a space station with Karain, dog people, talking dog people in space, aliens, and now he is cut off from all semblance of his old life, because he broke his phone. His memories and everything else are just whatever is left in his head, but there is no real tangible proof that he experienced them, that he had a family, that he has a mom that cares for him, that was messaging him for those 6 months, all worried about where he was, and the fact that he was apparently missing for 6 months. That was my chair. Hopefully it does not break while I'm sitting on it. Because that's the second time that it's done that. While I'm sitting on it right now. Anyways, so yeah. Tucker is pretty screwed right now. Mentally, he is... It could all be explained that he is having a mental breakdown. Like, yeah, it would be expected to have a mental breakdown right now. But a part of us know that it might not all be that, I'm not gonna say that this is turning into a horror visual novel because it isn't. Cryptid has already stated on Patreon and Discord and everywhere else that although this scene could be said, oh, this is like a horror visual novel now, it isn't. The story is mainly going to be focusing on Tucker and his companions and, dealing with the fact that he is now there. But it won't escape maybe having some things like this. Because, this is trauma for Tucker. And perhaps this is how his trauma is expressing itself to Tucker. Because, I don't know if you've ever had a panic attack or an anxiety attack or something like that. Or have had hallucinations because of those attacks. Those things seem very real to you. And it is entirely possible that what he is seeing is as a result of that. It is also entirely possible that what he is seeing is a result of the Mayron trying to interact with him. Because if you recall, he was saying that that he's close, that they want to talk to him, speak to him, that there is something close nearby that wants to see him and talk to him, or, well, yeah, that basically. It is entirely possible, since Professor Senno's office was literally right nearby, that the Mehron is also very nearby, and that what he was going to, where he was being led to, is maybe the Mehron. Maybe the Mehron itself is conscious. It is an entity rather than a machine. And that's maybe one of the things that Professor Senno has not really realized, or maybe has not, or maybe chooses not to realize. Because again, we don't know what the Mehron is, we don't know where it came from, he's not saying. It is entirely possible that the Mehron is containing something living, maybe something that exudes energy, an energy being or something like that. Maybe not exudes, it releases energy, which I think is the same thing. Anyways, but whatever. Perhaps the Mehron doesn't work, quote unquote, properly, and is not able to be controlled, because it is living and it does not want to do what these Karain wanted to do. And what if, after the Mehron was turned on this previous time, in an act of trying to perhaps preserve itself or ask for help, seek out help, it somehow accidentally yanked Tucker. And Tucker is sort of its attempt to try to communicate, like, hey, stop, I'm a living creature, and I need you to stop because you're hurting me, or something like that. Maybe that's what the Mehron is. And maybe that's what it's trying to do at the moment. Perhaps the mascot that it saw was because, if you recall, let me see if I can bring it up here, because I think he has that set up here. Backgrounds. If you recall, right here, you can't see my mouse, but on the... Frick, I forgot what these are called for some reason. The lockers. Right here, you see the mascot. The mascot is right there. And since he disappeared right here in this hallway, in this little nook, it is entirely possible that because that thing is the last thing he saw, and, maybe even the star thing right there, that perhaps what the way that the Mehron is trying to communicate is saying, like, oh, well, I'll use that last image that you have in your head in order to try to talk to you. And if you recall, when the Mehron when Tucker was experiencing the nightmare, let me see if it's here. Oh, it's not here. Poop. Oh, it's because I think the creature is not a it's a sprite, it's not a CG. Darn it. When it was sort of peeling itself, like falling apart, there was something that looked like a heart, but it also looked like a paw, because I'm trying to remember how it was set up. I think it was like upside down or something like that, but like part of the ends of the heart look like that end of a paw. So maybe it's trying to evolve into something that can speak to Tucker? I don't know. And perhaps the fact that this is an alien creature that can barely communicate with Tucker, that's why it's causing Tucker so much pain and discomfort, because it can't communicate with the Karain. It could communicate with Tucker, but the communication is not like one-to-one like it is me to another person. It's like me trying to speak to a dog, but in doing so, it's causing them harm, because the way that I'm trying to speak to them is like psychically, and because our minds are not compatible, it's causing harm to that other person. So maybe that's what's happening. Maybe it's trying to morph into something that doesn't hurt Tucker. I don't know. These are all visual novel game theories. I should make a little logo. Hopefully they don't like go like, well, you could say game theory, but you can't make your own logo. But anyways, so what are your thoughts? Tell me in the comments, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Roads Yet Traveled yourself, you can do so by going down into the link in the description for the creator's Twitter page, which should have a direct link for the itch.io page where you can download the game and play it. Or you can subscribe to their Patreon like I do and get early access to builds of Roads Yet Traveled as they are released. And personally, I think it's worth it. You do help Cryptid Dog, who is like, this is an awesome visual novel. I forgot the other word that I was trying to use. So I think it's worth it. This is one of the few visual novels that I personally think it's worth it. That's why I subscribed. And like, yeah, if you like it, then, and if you have the money, then, do so. Yeah. Anyway, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.